Good afternoon, everyone. We are sitting today as council, and we do have a quorum. All our council members are here. And we are in the presence of our clerk's department and CIO and other staff. I'd like to call this meeting to order at exactly 1 p.m. Our land acknowledgement statement. The Township of Hamilton is situated within the traditional territory of the Mississauga, Anishinaabe, and Chippewa nations, collectively known as the Williams Treaties First Nations. Our work on these lands respectfully acknowledges their resilience and their long-lasting contribution to the area now known as the Township of Hamilton. I don't believe we have any additions to our agenda today. Item 4 on our agenda is a motion that the agenda for the regular council meeting held on December 19th, 2023 be approved. Can I have a mover, please? Moved by Larry, seconded by Bruce. All those in favor? Carried, thank you. Item 5, declarations of pecuniary interest. Are there any to be declared today? Seeing none, that shall be recorded. Item 6 on our agenda, public question period. Do we have anyone on Zoom with us or anyone in the audience? Seeing none, we shall move on. Item 7 on our agenda is actually postponed for January. Our staff member that was going to give us this presentation is away. So we will, in fact, make note of that and have him come back in January. Item 8 on our agenda, public hearings and meetings. The prepared motion is that council go into a public meeting under Section 34 of the Planning Act at 1:02 p.m. on December 19th, 2023. Could I have a mover, please? Moved by Bruce, seconded by John. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. We have several applications to be discussed, and we shall turn this part of the meeting over to our senior planner, Jennifer Current. Please, Jennifer, when you're ready.
Certainly. Emily, is the mic live? Okay. Excuse me while I get set up here. I have to have some water in case I start to cough. We have 2 zoning bylaw amendment applications today for which we're holding public meetings. The first is application ZBA 04-2023, an application by the estate of George Hall and James Hall and Michael Hall. This application pertains to property located at 2247 Van Leuven Road, located in parts of lot 5 and 6, concession 1. And the application is required as a condition of consent for applications B21, 22, and 23, which were approved by the Committee of Adjustment on December the 14th, 2021. With those applications, they created 2 vacant rural residential lots and 1 vacant rural lot. There was also a wetland identified on the property during the review process, and that wetland needed to be rezoned as a condition of consent. So the application is to rezone the 2 conditionally approved rural residential lots to the rural residential zone and the wetland portion to the environmental protection wetland zone. The rural lot did not need to be rezoned. So the property is approximately 30.5 hectares. It has frontage on both Payne and Van Leuven roads. The property is developed with a single detached dwelling and 2 associated farm buildings that are located in the southwest corner of the property. The lots that were provisionally or conditionally granted have frontage on Van Leuven Road. During the review process of the consent applications, it was demonstrated that they comply with the provincial policy statement, the county official plan, and the township official plan. Surrounding land uses are generally rural land uses. The property is immediately north of Highway 401. There are 2 licensed aggregate operations to the north and northwest of the property, three, one immediately to the north, one to the northwest, and then the township owns another aggregate operation to the west of the Finley pit. The subject property previously had an aggregate license on the property. That license has been surrendered and the property has been rehabilitated. That licensed area was in the northwest corner of the property. So the property is designated rural in the township's official plan. The rural designation does allow for severances. There have been no previous severances from the property since 2001. And with this application, there will be 2 rural residential severances and 1 rural severance. There is a wetland, as I mentioned, identified on the property, and as part of the severance process, Oak Ridge Environmental undertook a review of the property to ensure that the severed lots were outside of the 120-meter setback. It was demonstrated that there is a portion that encroaches onto a couple of the lots, the 120-meter setback. However, the entire area is regulated by the Conservation Authority, and there are building envelopes outside of the regulated area. The wetland itself does not encroach onto the severed lots at all. It's just an influence area. The provincial policy statement contains policies requiring the protection of licensed aggregate resources or licensed aggregate operation and aggregate resource areas. And with this application, the actual resource on the property has been extinguished. They've already extracted it. The license has been surrendered. And the other 2, the 2 proposed rural residential lots are outside of the influence area for the other licensed aggregate operations. So it was determined that the proposed severances would not negatively impact the existing aggregate operations. The property is not located on the Oak Ridges Moraine, so the Oak Ridges Moraine Conservation Plan does not apply. The property's designated rural areas, which allows for lot creation in accordance with the township's lot creation policies, which I mentioned do allow for rural residential development and rural severances in that area. So the minimum lot area for a property in the property zoned marginal agriculture, and the minimum lot area in the marginal agriculture zone is 2 hectares. The proposed rural lot exceeds that lot area requirement. However, the 2 rural residential lots do not comply with that requirement. They are about 0.5 and 0.49 hectares each, and they are required to be rezoned to the rural residential zone, which will permit a single detached dwelling on a lot that has 45 meters of road frontage and a minimum 0.4 hectares of land. And that's why those 2 lots are being rezoned. And the portion in the middle of the lot on this screen is going to be rezoned environmental protection wetland. That zone is applied to lands that have wetland features. An evaluation was undertaken and it was demonstrated. Now, the reason that there are kind of some unusual lines that you wouldn't normally see with a wetland evaluation, you wouldn't normally see a straight line, because wetlands don't go in straight lines. But when they were conducting the evaluation, they just looked at the western boundary of the wetland feature, because that is the area that would have had an impact on the adjacent residential lots. So that's not to say that the wetland feature doesn't extend over to the east, but we don't know the limits of that boundary because a wetland evaluation hasn't been undertaken. Those, even if the wetlands are not zoned, they're still protected by the Conservation Authority. The application was circulated in accordance with the Planning Act to registered property owners within 120 meters of the property on November 27th, and a sign was posted on the property on November 24th. We have received no public comments. The application was circulated to a number of agencies. The Township of Hamilton Building Department had no objection. The Township of Hamilton Public Works Department indicated that they had no comments on the application, but that entrance permit applications would be required for each of the 3 new lots, and the general conditions and requirements of that permit would be issued at that time. So the planning analysis is that these lots are created in accordance with provincial policy. The rezoning will facilitate the severances, and it is recommended that the application be approved. I just note that the 2 applicants are here. Michael Hall and Jamie Hall are both here. And I just thought I would call council's attention to that.
Thank you, Jennifer. Turning to the audience. Turning to the audience, do we have anyone present in support of the application other than the applicants themselves? Do we have anyone present opposed to the application? Do we have anyone seeking clarification on the application? Seeing none, I will turn to our applicants and say, I will go to our council members and see if we have any questions, and I'll be back to you in a moment. Any questions on this application? Seeing none, would either of you like to make a presentation? It's not required, of course. Okay, this is not the part of the meeting that we make a decision on this, but rather just hear the public, which has been very quiet today. Jennifer, moving on to our next application under 8.3 on our agenda, being Rose and McLeod, if you would, please.
Certainly, through you, Mayor Jib. This application is also a zoning bylaw amendment application Z0823. It is required also as a condition of consent. Consent applications B04-923, B1023, and B1123 were approved by the Committee of Adjustment on January 11th, 2023. These applications approved the creation of 3 vacant rural residential lots with areas ranging from 0.76 hectares to 9.97 hectares. The lots have frontage on Kennedy Road. During the review of the severance applications, it was determined that first of all, I'm going to apologize. In the area on the map for the key map, I didn't delineate the individual lot areas, but that area to be rezoned encompasses the 3 proposed lots. So in the future, I will make sure that we have the lot lines demarcated on the key map for you. The middle lot, during the consent process, it was demonstrated that there is a water course on the property and that the area adjacent to the water course was regulated by the Conservation Authority. One of the conditions of consent was that the applicant demonstrate to the satisfaction of the township and the Ganaraska Region Conservation Authority demonstrate that there is a suitable building envelope on the property, and that has been provided and is attached to this application, because I wouldn't like to see the municipality rezone a property that we knew couldn't be built upon, and it has been demonstrated that they can build on that lot. So again, these lots are located in the rural area of the municipality. The provincial policy statement does allow for lot creation in the rural area. It was demonstrated during the consent process that the severed lots comply with the provincial policy statement, the growth plan, the township official plan, and the county official plan. There was that one question regarding the environmental feature on the middle lot. However, they have provided the necessary documentation for that. The property isn't located on the Oak Ridges Moraine, so that doesn't comply. It's located in the rural areas of the Northumberland County official plan, which does allow for some rural residential development and lot creation in accordance with the township's policies. The township, as I mentioned, a comprehensive review was undertaken of the consent policies when the applications were considered earlier in the year, and it was demonstrated that they do comply with those policies. They're creating lots that are over 0.4 hectares, which is the minimum lot area requirement for a new lot in the rural residential or the rural designation. They have frontage on a year-round municipally maintained road. They're appropriately sized. There were no MDS issues identified. And the property is currently zoned marginal agriculture in the township zoning bylaw. The minimum lot area requirement is 0.4 hectares and 45 meters of frontage. All 3 lots comply with those requirements, or sorry, the minimum lot area requirement for the marginal agriculture zone is 2 hectares and the 60 meters of frontage. None of the 3 lots comply with those requirements, and they have to be rezoned to the rural residential zone, which permits lots with 0.4 hectares and 45 meters of frontage. All 3 lots will comply with those requirements. There is an environmentally sensitive areas overlay, which applies to the area containing the environmental features, and the ESA, or the environmentally sensitive areas overlay, requires consultation with GRCA prior to any development occurring within that area. And the ESA area is generally applied to the area adjacent to the water course. So the application was circulated in accordance with the requirements of the Planning Act to all landowners within 120 meters of the property on November 28th. And a sign was posted on November 24th, and no public comments have been received. The application was circulated to the required agencies. Ganaraska Region Conservation Authority commented that the subject lands are partially within a GRCA regulated area. Any development infilling, inclusive of filling, grading, and construction of a building proposed within the regulated area will require a GRCA permit. And GRCA staff reviewed the applicant's sketch illustrating a building envelope on the lot created with application B1023, and they commented that they have no concerns with that. Hamilton Township Building Department had no objection. Hamilton Township Public Works Department indicated that they had no comments. Again, entrance permit applications will be required, and the appropriate conditions will be applied to those permits. And Northumberland County commented that they had no objection. So the application is required as a condition of consent. The application is consistent with the provincial policy statement, the growth plan for the Greater Golden Horseshoes, the County of Northumberland official plan, and the township official plan. And it's recommended that the conditionally approved lots be rezoned to the rural residential zone. Oh, sorry. Through you, Mayor Jib, the applicant is also present for this application.
It was last week when I didn't know the applicants. I got them this week.
Okay.
Yes, other than the applicant, is there anyone in the audience in support of this application? Is there anyone in the audience opposed to this application? Is there anyone seeking clarification in the audience? Seeing none, I'll go to committee members and see if we have any questions. Committee members, any questions, any thoughts? You're more than welcome to have an opportunity for a presentation if you wish. Very well. Jennifer, that concludes the public portion of our meeting today. So I'll move on to 8.4, a motion to rise from a public meeting and go to regular council. And the motion is that council rise from a public meeting under section 34 of the Planning Act and reconvene to a regular meeting of council at 1:19 p.m. on December 19th, 2003. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by Larry, seconded by John. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. We'll now come back to our planning bylaws on the 2 previous applications. And first, of course, is our zoning bylaw 2023-71. And it is that motion reads that bylaw 2023-71, being a bylaw to amend bylaw 2001-58 as amended, the Township of Hamilton Land Use Control Bylaw be given first, second, and third, and finally passed this 19th day of December 2023. Can I have a mover, please? Moved by Mark, second by Larry. Questions or comments? All those in favor? And of course, that was the Hall application. Carried, thank you. 9.2 on our agenda, the Rose McLeod application. Recommended Council of the Corporation Township of Hamilton acts as follows. That bylaw 2023-72, being a bylaw to amend bylaw 2001-58, as amended, the Township of Hamilton Land Use Control Bylaw be given first, second, and third reading and finally passed this 19th day of December 2023. Could I have a mover, please? Moved by Bruce, seconded by John. Any questions or comments? All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Moving on to item 10 on our agenda, being council minutes from November 21st. That the prepared motion reads that the minutes of the November 21st, 23 and December 14th, 23 council minutes be adopted. I have a mover, please. Moved by Mark, seconded by Bruce. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. 10.2, Committee of the Whole. Prepared motion reads that the minutes of the December 12th, 2023 Committee of the Whole meeting be approved. Can I have a mover, please? Moved by Larry, seconded by John. Any questions or comments? All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Item 11, no business arising. Item 12, we may have a little stutter step here as we move through 12. The 12.1 motion is that agenda items from 12.2 to 12.10 of the December 19th, 2023 regular council meeting agenda be received for information. Can I have a mover, please? Moved by Bruce, seconded by John. Questions or comments? All those in favor? Carried. Okay, Accessibility Advisory Committee. We have prepared motion that council approve a community survey and a public in-person meeting to gather community input for accessible programs, project services for consideration during the creation of the 2024 to 2029 accessibility plan. And I kerfuddled here, Daphne. I should read this motion.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the items listed under 12.2, 12.2.1 to 12.3.5 are all recommendations from advisory committees, namely the Accessibility Committee as well as the Environmental Committee. So you could have them approved with one motion.
Okay. We're going to try and tweak this a little bit. That items 12.2.1 to 12.3.5 being it climate advisory committee recommendations and be approved,
And accessibility.
and the accessibility component of it will be approved. Told you there was going to be some hiccups here, everybody.
12.2.1 to 12.3.5.
For approval. Moved by Mark, seconded by John. Thank you. All those in favor of the motion? Carried, thank you. Can we go straight to 12.6 now?
We've already done those.
Okay, so we need to go to the
13.
Public Works and Infrastructure. Wow, we went by this page quickly. Thank you, everyone. Well, our 13.1 is dealing with our water supply master plan. And it's recommended the Council of the Corporation Township of Hamilton acts as follows. The council receives report 2023-009, awarding of request for proposal for the water supply master plan. And the council approves the award of the RFP for the WSMP as specified in the RFP 23-02 for a value of $116,282 plus HST to JL Richards and Associates. And the council approves the provisional item of water modeling for an additional $9,104 plus HST as a water model is critical for understanding the township's current distribution systems, capabilities, and limitations. And that a bylaw be approved to authorize the mayor and treasurer to sign and execute the contract with JL Richards and Associates Limited as identified in the RFP number 2023-02. Sorry for the poor reading of that. Could I have a motion, please? Moved by Larry, seconded by Mark. Any questions or comments? Mark? Please.
Quick question, Anita, that additional $9,000, can you just tell me what that entitles? Like, is that a look at our own system we have now and then trying to better it? Is that the thoughts behind that?
Yes, through you, Mayor Jip, that is exactly what it is. It's an exploration of the existing distribution systems to find out the deficiencies within, what we can do to optimize what we have, and also to look at what we would need to add on to it in order to create more room for housing.
Kind of thought it was, but I just wanted to be sure. So yeah, thank you for that.
Any other questions or comments other than we need to go to a recorded vote? Larry, question?
I'm really encouraged that we're doing this. I think this is going to give us clearly at least a plan that we can take forward. And I think this might help us in proceeding further to get the grants that we need to do whatever is required to sustain our water. And I'm really encouraged by this. And I acknowledge staff's hard work to get this done. So thank you.
Any questions, any further questions or comments? I'll just add one. Larry, I sincerely hope you're right. I think everyone in this room is looking to that. I shall turn this part over to our clerk for a recorded vote, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councillor Butter. Councillor Davison.
Yay.
Councillor Levshin.
Yay.
Deputy Mayor Williamson.
Yay.
Mayor Jip.
Yay.
Carried unanimously. Thank you.
Okay, we're on to 15.1 on our agenda, and it's dealing with a portion of a right-of-way on Young Street in Harwood. And the motion reads that council receives report 2023-18, which is the final assumption of a portion of a right-of-way known as Young Street, Harwood for information, and that bylaw 2023-68 be brought forward to formally assume parts 1, 2, 4, and 5 of Plan 39R 14679 Young Street as a year-round maintained road in accordance with direction and township policies. Could I have a mover, please? I didn't see it. Larry, was that you?
Yeah.
Okay, moved by Larry, seconded by Mark. Any further questions or comments? Yes, Larry?
I know I'm not going to be the favorite person in the room when I say this, but I understand it's a complex issue. And I know staff's been working hard and diligently on this, but we're only going to be doing a portion of Young Street, which leaves the latter portion of Young Street to the end in its present condition, not allowing people to get in or out. And I know we've had other issues in some other areas of the township, but is it possible if we were to go to the other residents along that road and request their approval to increase their raise or taxes, or to have them fund the completion of the road to the end. As the equipment's all going to be there, it seems to me that it wouldn't be, it's going to be a cost, but again, if the people are willing to put up the, have their taxes raised or rezone the area and pay that tax. I'm just bringing that forward because it seems we're going to complete half the road, but not the last half. So we've got the equipment there. It would seem to me to make sense to complete the road and have it done for the future. That's my only comment.
From my involvement with it, I believe there's different sets of circumstances from this portion that we're involved with and the other section, which is privately owned and not by the individual property owners, but by one property owner, being the large farm. I suppose that we could get a follow-up with better information and more information at a future meeting, or even into coordinators from staff. But I believe we'll find that there's quite a variation in circumstances. So how would you like this left, Larry? We understand your concern, your goal. Would you like additional information, or would you like to deal with that on a one-on-one basis?
I suppose I'd like staff to look into it. I know that we're going to get a lot of pushback from the rest of the residents along that road. They've been asking many times to have something done. And I know we've got this problem in other areas, and I don't want to see us setting us a precedent, but if we can just take it back and have a look so that we can, refer to the residents and give them a clear understanding of why we're doing it this way and not completing the road entirely. Because I know they will come back and want to know why we're not going to complete the road. So that's my only comment, is to have staff come back and just give us a clear understanding of that for the residents. Is that clear and understood?
I don't believe this is too onerous for staff. I believe probably 90% of this legwork has already been done, and just a matter of drafting the report. Turning to our clerk, do we need a motion to this effect? Or I know staff are certainly willing to do that, but to be technically correct, should we have a motion?
Is through you, Mr. Mayor, is your intent that this report come to coordinators? Or to council?
Yeah, that would be fine.
Coordinators?
Yeah.
I'll take that as direction. I'll put
Okay.
that report.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you to all
Thank you.
who will be working on that. Okay. I don't believe we had a vote on that motion, did we? Okay, so we have it moved and seconded.
Moved by Councilor and Deputy Mayor and seconded by Councilor Rushing.
Yeah, so we've got it moved and seconded. Could we have a vote on the motion, please? Carried, thank you. Item 16.1 on our agenda. Being emergency services. And this is in particular a shared service agreement with Elma Haldeman and ourselves. And the prepared motion reads that council receives report PS 2023-03 for information, and that staff be directed to bring forward a bylaw to consideration authorize execution of a joint fire chief shared service agreement with the Township of Elma Haldeman in accordance with the provisions within the Fire Protection Prevention Act. Can I have a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by Larry, seconded by Mark. Questions or comments? All those in favor of the motion? Carried, thank you. Uh, 18.1 on our agenda, being bylaws. And it's the assumption portion of Yonge Street into a municipal road system. And the motion reads, it's recommended the Council of Corporation Township of Hamilton acts as follows. The bylaw number 2023-69 being a bylaw to assume a portion of Yonge Street, Harwood, into the municipal road system be given a first, second, and third reading and finally passed this 19th day of December of 2023. Can I have a mover, please, and a seconder? Moved by Bruce, seconded by Larry. Questions, comments? All those in favor? Carried, thank you. 18.2, consent agreement for Macklin. Bylaw reads, the motion reads that bylaw 2023-70, being a bylaw to execute a consent agreement with W.S. Macklin, H.W. Macklin, and S.E. Macklin, reconsent application B08-23, be given a first, second, and third reading and finally passed this 19th day of December of 2023. Moved by Larry, seconded by Mark. Any questions or comments? All those in favor? Carried, thank you. 18.3, execute agreement for joint fire chief services with the Township of Hamilton. The motion reads that bylaw 2023-73, being a bylaw to execute agreement for joint fire chief services with the Township of Elmwood Haldeman, be given first, second, and third reading and finally passed this 19th day of December 2023. Mover, please. John, seconder, Larry. Questions, comments? All those in favor? Carried, thank you. 18.4, establish committee of adjustment for 2024. The bylaw number 2023-74, being a bylaw to establish the committee of adjustment for the 2024 term, be given a first, second, and third reading and finally passed this 19th day of December. Mover and a seconder, please. Moved by John, seconded by Bruce. Questions or comments? Larry?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. I totally agree with what we're doing now, because we don't have any time to do anything otherwise. But we have discussed the fact of bringing on public members to the Committee of Adjustment. And I would hope that we could direct staff to look at this for the year, I guess it would be 2025, 26, 25, I guess. So if I could just make that recommendation that we direct staff to investigate the process and mandate for approaching the public to see if we could find some qualified people to sit on the Committee of Adjustment.
Am I
Thank you.
correct in thinking the staff are going to take that under advisement? Is that the right word again?
Excuse me. Pardon me. Through you, Mayor Jib, we can take that comment away with the report or information back to council. Then council could decide whether to take the next step to actually embark on that route, because that would be the requirement of council to make that decision, correct? So we can come back with a report on what's involved, some of the pros and cons, bring that back to council, and then council could then make a subsequent recommendation. We'd work through the coordinators first and then bring that back to council.
Thank you. All those in favor of the motion? Carried. Thank you. Bylaw 2023-77, being a bylaw to authorize the mayor and treasurer to execute a contract with J.L. Richards and Associate for the water supply master plan. Can I have a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by Larry, second by Bruce. Questions, comments? All those in favor? Carried, thank you. Okay, there's no notice of motions, and I don't believe we have any media with us, even online. So we'll be moving to closed session. And we'll just take a couple of minute break. Do we want this motion to get us into closed first? Okay, so 21.1 on our agenda, motion to move to a closed session to discuss matters permitted under the Municipal Act, sections 239-2A, security of property, and 239-2E, litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting your municipality or local board, And F, advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose. Memorandum of understanding for land use. OLT 23-30317 being part lot 5, concession 9, which I think is going to put us in Harwood, if I'm right. It is recommended the Council of Corporation Township of Hamilton acts as follows: at the regular council meeting held on December 19th, 2023, go into closed session at 1:40 p.m. under the Municipal Act, sections 239 2E and F, the OLT information. Could I have a mover, please? Moved by Bruce, second by Larry. All those in favor, carried, and we'll transition into closed, and we'll just take a couple